Hey guys, let's get more news about Warriors, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Jimmy Butler is joining the Golden State Warriors, while Andrew Wiggins is heading to the Miami Heat in a trade deal. Jimmy Butler got what he wanted. He's being traded out of Miami and secured a new contract in the process. The Heat and the Golden State Warriors reached an agreement on a deal that sends Butler to the Bay Area, according to a person familiar with the negotiations, who spoke on Wednesday. Butler had helped lead the Heat to the NBA Finals twice before a strained relationship with the team that resulted in him being suspended 3 times in January. Golden State is making the trade by moving Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, Lindy Waters, and first-round draft picks, the person said, speaking to the Associated Press on the condition of anonymity since the trade hasn't yet received league approval. Wiggins and Anderson will be going to Miami. It's not clear if Anderson will remain with the Heat. Schroeder is being traded to Utah, where the Warriors were on Wednesday night, and Josh Richardson is headed from Miami to Detroit along with Waters. PJ Tucker is also moving, having just been traded to Utah, but is now set to return to Miami, where he played in 2021-22. "My brother, man. I'm going to miss him, for sure," said Heat forward Nikola Jovic, who admired Butler. "I think a lot of guys here will. He's someone who did a lot for this franchise." The Heat will receive a protected first-round pick from Golden State, which is currently set to be a pick in this year's draft, but that could change based on final terms. Butler has already agreed to a 2-year, $113 million extension with the Warriors. "I'm really happy that he got what he wanted," Jovic said. "That bag's kinda really big." Golden State is Butler's 5th team after playing for Chicago, Minnesota, Philadelphia, and Miami. His arrivals were celebrated in all of these cities, though his exits were not always smooth. With the Warriors, Butler will join Stephen Curry and Draymond Green, who were part of all 4 of the Warriors' recent championship teams and are hopeful of making another title run. The Warriors had a closed-door meeting on Wednesday as news of the trade was coming out. Coach Steve Kerr spoke with the team during the time that the locker room is typically open to reporters before games. The Warriors ended up losing to Utah 131-128. "Our guys were in the locker room getting ready to play, and all of a sudden we're saying goodbye," Kerr said. Butler's split with the Heat had been building for months. The main issue was money. He was eligible for a 2-year, $113 million extension, but the Heat never offered it, mainly because he missed about 25% of the games during his time with Miami. The relationship broke down completely by the end. When Butler said in early January that he didn't expect to find joy on the court with the Heat again, he was suspended for 7 games, which was the final straw in a series of incidents the team labeled detrimental conduct. The situation got worse. Butler was suspended 3 times in January, the second time for missing a team flight and the last time for leaving a shoot-around early after learning he wouldn't start a January 27 game against Orlando. That was the end. "There was a lot said by everybody, except for me, to tell you the truth," Butler said after his first game back following the first suspension. "We'll let people keep talking. The whole truth will come out." The Heat said Butler asked for a trade, which led them to shift their stance from team president Pat Riley's earlier promise not to trade him. After the first suspension, the Heat said they were working to make a trade happen. Butler is averaging 17 points per game this season. Jazz storm back in final minutes to edge Warriors. Jordan Clarkson scored 31 points, Keontae George added 26, and the Utah Jazz made a furious comeback to erase a late double-digit deficit in a 131-128 win over the Golden State Warriors on Wednesday night in Salt Lake City. Playing under the shadow of a widely reported massive 4-team trade, including these 2, Golden State led 122-111 with 3 minutes left after Draymond Green hit 2 free throws. But the Jazz scored on 10 straight possessions and made a flurry of defensive plays in the last 3 minutes to cap a wild night with an unlikely win. Stephen Curry led all scorers with 32 points and Brandon Podziemski netted 29, but it wasn't enough to stave off a Jazz team playing without injured starters Colin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen. Help reportedly is on the way for Golden State. The Warriors would acquire star Jimmy Butler from Miami in exchange for Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and a protected 2025 first-round pick, and the Jazz would send P.J. Tucker to Miami, according to reports. Utah will get Dennis Schroeder from Golden State. Detroit would get Lindy Waters III from the Warriors and Josh Richardson from the Heat. After a rough start, the Warriors seemed to have this game under control. Golden State trailed by 14 points in the first half, but led by double digits when Utah went off with under 3 minutes left. The rally started quietly enough, with George splitting a pair of free throws. George then stole the ball and assisted John Collins, 19 points, for a quick bucket. Clarkson then hit a three-pointer, and Isaiah Collier, 20 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds, burst to the hoop for a layup to cap an 8-0 run, making it 122-119. Curry momentarily interrupted Utah's flow with a couple of buckets sandwiching another Clarkson tray to keep Golden State ahead by 4 with under a minute left. Clarkson then made 2 foul shots, and George wrapped up the game with a three-pointer followed by 2 free throws to put Utah up 129-126 with 10 seconds left. Curry cut the lead to 1 with 2 free throws a second later, but the Jazz clinched it thanks to 2 foul shots from Collins and a late steal by George. Walker Kessler had some big defensive stops in the finishing run and finished with 15 points, 18 rebounds, and 3 blocked shots. Kevin Durant wants to be a Sun, not a Warrior. Kevin Durant of the Phoenix Suns wants to stay in Phoenix and finish the rest of the season as a Sunday. There was speculation that, because the Miami Heat did not want to make a deal sending Jimmy Butler to the Suns for Bradley Beal, the Suns would change the narrative and forego a trade involving Durant to the Golden State Warriors, which would reunite him with Steph Curry. An initial reaction on Suns Twitter speculated that the Suns would end up with Jimmy Butler and roll with a big three of Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Butler after the trade deadline. However, that was not what Suns fans wanted to see, as they hoped Durant would remain a Sunday. Durant's presence in Phoenix has been pivotal, not just for his on-court production but also for the championship experience he brings to the team. Fans recognize that his ability to perform in high-pressure situations is irreplaceable, and losing him could significantly impact the Suns' only chances of contending for a title even if it seems slim. The Suns might be heading back to the drawing board in hopes of improving the team without trading Durant or Beal, because, from the sound of things, the Suns are out of luck when it comes to making up for mistakes made in constructing this roster. Do we see any moves headed the Suns' way? Let's just hope for the best. With the trade deadline approaching, the Suns' front office will need to get creative if they want to address the team's weaknesses. While blockbuster trades may be off the table, minor moves to bolster the bench, defensive versatility, and size could be the key to helping the Suns make a deep playoff run. And you, fan? What do you think of the Kevin Durant situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.